Welcome back. Lesson number 5 of an SAT math review. Number 28. If the system of inequalities y greater than or equal to 2x plus 1 and y greater than 1/2 x minus 1 is graphed in the xy plane above, which quadrant contains no solutions to the system? Okay, the answer on 28 is C. Again, if you needed more time on it, you should have hit pause when I said the answer to it is. I gave you a chance to hit pause. You're going to need to use that formula I told you before to make a flashcard for. They don't give you this formula. Y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Again, slope is the change in y over the change in x, or the rise to the run. When you're graphing it by hand, the first step I tell people is, well, you got to solve it for y. That really helps. And then you plot the y-intercept first, and then from the y-intercept, you rise and run. So graphing y greater than or equal to 2x plus 1, the first step is to plot the y-intercept. And then I'm going to use that slope, 2, or 2 over 1, and I'm going to rise 2 and run 1. And it was equal to, so that's a solid line, and it was greater than, so it's shaded above. You can do that trick when it's solved for y. When it's greater than, it's above, straight above the line. When it's less than, it goes straight below the line. Okay, the next one, y greater than 1/2 x minus 1. The y-intercept is -1. Again, that's the first step. Plot the y-intercept. It's -1. And then the slope is 1/2, so rise 1, run 2. It's greater than but not equal to, so technically you're supposed to make that a dashed line. Again, it's greater than, so I'm going to shade straight above it. The solution, or where the two colors overlap at, which is right there. There's no overlap in quadrant 4. All right, to overachieve for you, let's do it on the calculator. So, go to y equals. The first one was 2x plus 1, so 2, second row x, plus 1. Go in front of the y and hit equals till you get to the greater than. If you hit equals again, you get to less than. Just got to keep hitting equals till you get what you want. Okay, the next one. The next equation was 1/2 x minus 1. So 1/2 is 1 divided by 2, because a fraction is division. 1/2 is 1 divided by 2. X minus 1. The fancy calculator here doesn't have a fraction key. It doesn't really matter. It's greater than also, so I'm going to hit enter in the front. And then you just hit graph. So again, the answer or the solution is where the two colors or the two shadings overlap at, which is right here. All of the answers in that area are solutions to the system. Number 29. For a polynomial p of x, the value of p of 3 is -2. Which of the following must be true about p of x? Okay, the answer on 29 is D. Again, 3 is the value of x. And what they're saying is if you divide by the 3, what do you get for a remainder? Well, we get for the remainder -2. This is a long division or a synthetic division, kind of a nod to that concept to see whether or not you've learned long division or synthetic division. And if you've learned that, you realize that when you're plugging in x in or doing long division or synthetic division, you do the opposite sign of it. It's +3, so you do x minus 3 is what you would do into the long division of the polynomial of it. Or you'd put a -3 on the outside of the synthetic division. Okay, number 30. Which of the following is an equivalent form of the equation of the graph shown in the xy plane from the coordinates of a vertex A can be identified as constants in the equation? Okay, the answer on this is D. The tricky thing is here again the reading. They wanted it to have the vertex and identify the constants of the equation. So you don't want to have it in this form here, the factored form. I agree it factors into this, but that's not what they want. They wanted it in this form, the vertex form, which technically is, if you wanted to know it and make a flashcard, it's y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. The quickest way to get to it is your favorite. I'm being sarcastic there. Your favorite. We're going to do completing the square on it. Y is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 15. All right, so completing the square, the first step, I'll put it down here. Step number 1. You take half of the coefficient of the x coordinate. So the coefficient of the x coordinate is 2. You can ignore the sign in front of it. And half of that's 1. So you square it and add it to it, and you also square it and subtract it. So in essence, you really did nothing to your equation. You added and subtracted the same number. It's not even really there. So that's how completing the square works. So again, the second step is after you take half of the coefficient of the x, add it and subtract it. Squared. So that makes this then, right here, completing the square, that factors in x minus 1 times x minus 1, or x minus 1 squared, and then that makes negative 1 squared, negative 1 minus 15, or minus 16. See, and you thought you'd never use completing the square. You did, and you lived through it. Okay, the next part of the test number 4, you've entered the crazy zone. There's no more multiple guessing now. You have to bubble in answers. So 7/12 would be 7 fraction 12, 2.5, 2/3, 0.666, and so on. So no guessing anymore. You're on your own. Number 31. Wyatt can husk at least 12 dozen ears of corn per hour and at most 18 dozen ears of corn per hour. Based on this information, what is the possible amount of time in hours that it could take Wyatt to husk 72 ears of corn? Okay, the answer on this one, I'm going to put 5 for it, but you could have any answer between the numbers 4 and 6. So I don't know how they would grade this. It's kind of a crazy question. I got to think it probably wouldn't actually be on an SAT test since it's kind of an open-ended question. And you can't really trust people grading these to understand that there's an infinite actual possibility of answers on it. But all right, we'll go over it. So we got at the least amount of time per hour is 12 dozen, and the most he can do in an hour is 18 dozen. He's going to do 72 dozen. So 72 divided by 12 gives you 6. And 72 divided by 18 gives you, I think, 5. Let me double check. No, it gives you 4. All right. So he can do 72 dozen ears between 4 and 6 hours. So like I said, it's any number between 4 and 6. I'd put 5 down for it. Again, there's no way this would be on the test. Next one, the posted weight limit for a covered wooden bridge in Pennsylvania is 6,000 pounds. A delivery truck that is carrying X identical boxes, each weighing 14 pounds, will pass over the bridge. If the combined weight of the empty delivery truck and its driver is 4,500 pounds, what is the maximum possible value for X that will keep the combined weight of the truck driver and boxes below the bridge's posted weight limit? Okay, the answer on this is 107. You need to make an equation for this to solve it. Each box weighs 14 pounds. That's sort of a slope for it, 14 pounds each in every box. So if you had 2 boxes, that's 28. 100 boxes would be 1,400 pounds. But each box is 14 pounds. And then on top of that, the truck and the driver weigh 4,500 pounds. We want that to stay under 6,000 pounds. So that would be your equation that you could do. So subtract the 4,500, solve for x. So you get 14x is less than 1,500 then. Divide, because it's 14 times x, so the last step here is divide, and you get exactly 107. So the maximum amount of packages that you could have are 107. It said you could have up to 6,000 pounds, so go for that number 107 because it can be equal to it. Number 33. The graph here shows the number of portable media players sold worldwide each year between 2006 and 2011. According to the line graph above, the number of portable media players sold in 2008 is what fraction of the number sold in 2011? Okay, the answer on this is 5/8. Or you could have, that would be equal to 0.625, so you could have 0.625 or 5/8. So they want the fraction of 2008 compared to 2011. So in 2008, they had 100. In 2008, there was 100. And in 2011, there's 160. So that's 10 out of 16. And divide that by 2, that's 5 out of 8. And for those that don't like to clean their fractions up, put it in your calculator. 100 divided by 160, enter. And then math, enter, enter. You can make it a fraction or leave it that decimal, 0.625. Number 34. A local television station sells time slots for programs in 30-minute intervals. If the station operates 24 hours per day, every day of the week, what is the total number of 30-minute time slots the station can sell for Tuesday and Wednesday? Okay, you wanted to have for an answer 96. This is a reading question. You got 24 hours in a day, and in each hour you got 2 30-minute intervals, so 24 times 2. And then we're going to do it for 2 days, so times 2 more. So 24 times 2 is 48, times 2 more is 96. $35. A dairy farmer uses a storage silo that is in the shape of a right cylindrical cylinder above. If the volume of the silo is 72 pi cubic yards, what is the diameter of the base of the cylinder in yards? Okay, the answer here is 6. They give you the formula on the SAT test for a cylinder. It's a right cylinder, meaning it makes a right angle. It doesn't come to a point and it's not oblique. So I always remember for any right prism, the formula is for the volume is 1/2 the area of the base times the height. Capital B stands for area of the base, whatever shape the base is. Here the shape is a circle, so you have to use the area of a circle formula, and the area of a circle is pi r squared. So the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. Again, they give you this formula on your test. You just would have to take the time to go back to find the formula on the formula list. Let me show you. Here's the formula list. So they do give you a cylinder right here, pi r squared h. It's just, I don't know, you'll get to panicking and stuff when you're taking the test. It's nice to go back and look at it, but it just saves you some time. So using that formula, they told us the volume. They said the volume is this. Always just write down the formula, write it down, and then plug that in for the volume. So 72 pi equals pi r squared h. So cleaning up then, I can cancel the pi's down on both sides. Oh, and the height here was 8. So 72 equals r squared 8. Divide by 8, that's 9. And so not the square root then of it, because it's squared, so you take the square root of it. I agree it's 3 and -3, but as always, we don't use the negative number because the distance isn't negative. So the answer is just 3. And then, this amuses me, you probably will be super excited that you have that the number's 3, and you didn't read the question. All that work and you didn't read the question. They want the diameter. The diameter on it's 6. If the radius is 3, the diameter all the way across is 6. That's just so evil of them. All that work. All right, 36. For what value of x is the function h above undefined? Okay, it's undefined when x is equal to 3. It's undefined when you're dividing by the number 0. So we want to know, when is that 0? When is x minus 5 squared plus 4 times x minus 5 plus 4 equal to 0. All right, I did it two different ways. You could do it by cleaning that up and seeing where it's equal to 0, or you can put in your calculator and see where it crosses the x-axis at. And you'll see when you graph it, it makes a parabola that crosses right there. It makes a 0 at the number 3. I'll do that too for you here in a minute. So cleaning it up, x minus 5 squared is x squared minus 10x plus 25 plus 4x minus 20 plus 4 equals 0. Like I told you, I can FOIL pretty fast in my head, so that's probably the way I would go about it here. So that gives me then x squared minus 10 plus 4x makes minus 6x. Then 25 minus 25 plus 4 is 9. It's a perfect square. 3 squared is 9 and also adds a 6, so it's x minus 3 times x minus 3. So the answer is 3 because you set that quadratic equal to 0. Graphing it really quick here. Y equals, got to clear out what's there, 1 divided by, well, no, we want to see when that's equal to 0, so I'm just going to put that in. So x minus 5 squared plus 4 times x minus 5 plus 4. Hit graph. And right there, it's 0. Just cheat, go to the table. It's the second graph, and you get to the table. And if you go down there, you'll see at the number 3, it's 0. There's other ways you can get it too. Contact me if you want to talk about that some more. Okay, for questions 37 and 38, refer to the following information. Jessica opened a bank account that earns 2% interest compounded annually. Her initial deposit was $100, and she uses the expression 100 times x to the t to find the value of the account after t years. 37. What is the value of x in the expression? This one's also kind of tricky. You might be inclined to just write 0.02, but it's 1.02 because it's growing. Hopefully maybe when you go down to number 38 and work that problem out, you'll realize it wasn't 0.02. 1.02 because it's growing, the money's getting bigger. So it's a growth problem. If you put 0.02 down, it would have been a decay problem and your money would have gone down instead of going up. So what you were supposed to do is add 100% plus a 2%, which is 102%. All right, next up. Jessica's friend Taishan found an account that earns 2.5% interest compounded annually. Taishan made an initial deposit of $100 into this account at the same time as Jessica made her deposit of $100 into her account. After 10 years, how much more money will Taishan's initial deposit have earned than Jessica's initial deposit? Round your answer to the nearest cent and ignore the dollar sign when gridding your response. They want to know when it's equal. When is Jessica? Well, no, they want you to compare Jessica to Taishan. All right. So Jessica has 100 times 1.02 to the 10th. Then Taishan has 100 and 1.025 to the 10 because the time was 10 years. And so you do that math on your calculator. I'll do it for you. All right. So 100 and then 1.02 caret. The caret's on the fourth row down at the end. Caret 10. So that to the nearest penny, you're going to have to round it up, which rounds that up to a 10, which rounds that to a 9. So it's $121.90. All right, Taishan is 100 times 1.025 to the 10th. And to the nearest penny then, that's 128.01. So then subtracting them, that makes the answer to it $6.11. All right, if you would like to have more SAT videos or you need an SAT, an ACT video, let me know and I'll move it up on my list. I'm sure I'll do some more in the future here, but I'm going to move on to some other topics right now. So again, contact me at a2math.com if you would like something else made that's different, and I'll make it for you for free. Click subscribe down below for me, and you have a great day. Thank you.